Hello, hello, hello. Just let me check and make sure that everything is working here. Where am I? Says that we're live. Are we live? Is everything working? Let me check. There we go. Excellent. Excellent. Hopefully the tech is working okay and that the chat and everything is working. So, hello, beautiful souls. Grab your cup of whatever warms your soul today and settle in. I forgot my cup, so we won't be doing that for me. But let me know in the chat if you're here with me live, what it is that's in your cup. Or if you don't want to share that, that's fine. Just let me know that you are, in fact, here with me so that I can see what's going on with you. And that I'm not just talking into the void because sometimes that's what this feels like. Um, so I'm Doris from betteryou.coach, and I want to welcome you to our Thursday live chat. If you caught yesterday's live episode, or sorry, it wasn't live, yesterday's episode of the Better You show, it was episode 15 that was talking about emotional exhaustion. Let me know if you watched it. We had coaches Joyce, Sarah, Counselor Shelley, and Coach Tiffany and myself all sharing some pretty raw stories. So if you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. It's linked in the description. In these chats for today, we're not really doing replays of the whole episode, but I'd love to be able to answer any questions that might have popped up after watching. You know those ones that hit you in the quiet moments afterward, or that you're like, "Oh, I kind of wish I could talk about this a little bit more with someone." That's what we're here for today. And if it's something private that you don't want to publicly share here in the chat, maybe send us an email, hello@betteryou.coach, and we can have a conversation. And if you decide that you want to do something a little bit more about that, I can set you up and make sure that you have the coach that works for you. All right. So, in the episode, we talked about what our experience with emotional exhaustion was and being the sole container for everyone else and how society isn't built for our emotional needs. It was some pretty powerful stuff. But one thing that viewers have messaged me about is I get the big picture, but how do I know if it's emotional exhaustion versus just being physically wiped out? Which is a great question because they are different beasts. If this is something that you've wondered, drop a thumbs up in the chat so that I can see that some other people are dealing with that. Um, and well, let's talk about this a little bit more. And if you have questions as we go along, throw them in the chat. Don't wait for a Q&A because we don't do that here. We're just having a conversation. So let me know. But of course, you can ask a question anytime. So physical fatigue. You run a marathon or you pull an all-nighter, or one of the kids was sick all night, or you were sick all night, and you are exhausted the next day. Makes sense, right? So sleep fixes something like that. Whereas with emotional exhaustion, it's a lot deeper. You got a really good night's sleep, but you still wake up drained. And I don't mean like it happens once, because yeah, you get a bad night's sleep or something comes up and you're dealing with it. But if it's happening over and over for weeks or more, um, when you're experiencing that soul level tiredness, that maybe you get irritable over small things, you're feeling numb to joy, you're dreading moments that you used to handle easily. Maybe you're starting to experience some physical problems like headaches or tension that just it won't quit. Something that rest alone doesn't refill the emotional tank, at least physical rest, because the drain is from carrying too much of an emotional load. And a lot of times we carry these things alone. So if that resonates even a little, You're not weak. I want you to know that. You're human in a world that asks a lot from you. And that's hard. And so that's the kind of things that we're talking about in the episode. All right. Here are some other signs that we didn't talk about in the episode that maybe we could explore here a little bit. Let me know if some of this helps. I don't want to take up too much time here with you because, of course, this can manifest in so many different ways. And maybe it takes a deeper one on one conversation or a different kind of conversation where you can really work through some of this stuff. But here's some of the quieter signs that we can touch on. Maybe you just find that you know what, you can't remember the last time that you smiled, even at, or that you're not smiling at things that used to light you up. Used to, your favorite thing to do is now, eh. Um, Food maybe doesn't taste as exciting, tastes flat. Maybe you used to love music, used to dance around the house a little bit. Now it's like meh. I guess it's that overall meh feeling, right? Maybe you get irritability spikes. Little things are setting you off, or maybe you're withdrawing from people that you love. Maybe you're isolating yourself a little bit more. All of those things could be signs of emotional exhaustion. Maybe you're feeling a little more detached or cynical. Like, really? What's the point? Like, why? Right? Another question that I get asked is, what if I ignore it? We talked a little bit about this in the episode, but the important thing that we really make sure that you get is this can spiral. If you ignore it, it can spiral into something deeper. Um, I want to make sure that you're not just pushing through because I don't want you to hit that bigger crash. Oftentimes, we don't even realize that we're dealing with this until we hit a bigger crash. And then as we're getting treated for that bigger crash, we happen to realize, oh, yeah, I can see how this has been building. Oh, yeah, I guess that was emotional exhaustion all along until I hit this wall and I got this big crash. Coach Joyce talked a little bit about her breakdown that turned into a breakthrough, but you don't want to get to the point where it's a breakdown. I talked about how I had to have something really big happen in my life before I started to work on things. And some of my friends have waited and pushed this down and not sought out help. And then they ended up with with a chronic disease or something in their health that they needed to deal with. So depression can come from not dealing with this stuff. It just builds and builds and builds and it festers. Another thing too is hurting your relationships, because if you're feeling emotionally exhausted and you're not able to deal with things, you're not able to deal with your emotions, you're not able to deal with the people that are around you and them having emotions, it can fester resentment and leading to divorces or estrangements. And we don't want that. So when you're starting to feel this, don't wait for the big crash. Start getting help early. Preventative help is often a great thing. Maybe you're like, I thought maybe, and then you go to seek help and you realize, no, it wasn't. That's okay too, right? And then you just back off from the help and maybe you don't invest in the, longer program or something like that because you don't need it. And any person who is in the help type of industry like this is going to be trying to help you. So they're not going to be soaking you for whatever it is. If you come and see them and they're like, no, you know what? You don't need me. Try this or something like that, right? Going to see your doctor is often a good first step as well. And then seeing if there's anything physical that might be starting this, getting your nutrition checked out, things like that. And then maybe they can suggest whether you need to seek help in other areas or come and talk to one of us for sure. For each of the coaches who experienced emotional exhaustion, Again, I said it took some sort of catalyst, but that doesn't have to happen for you. So the good news is anything could be a catalyst. So this conversation right now that you and I are having, this can be your catalyst. So if you're dealing with a lot right now, this is your sign. This conversation right here that happened to fall in your feed is your sign that you should talk to someone about this. If you're part of a community like a church or some close friends, reach out. And if you feel like you don't have anyone, I promise you, you do. We're here, and there are tons of coaches and counselors out there right now in the world who'd love to chat with you, have an initial consult. A lot of us do them for free, so it doesn't have to cost you anything but a little bit of time. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So if anybody here feels like they don't have anyone, type me in the chat and you and we can connect. I know that it's scary to reach out. You don't want to be judged or you don't want to bother people, or maybe you're like I was and just don't even realize that you're going through this. So I want to come here to say, take the time because you really do matter. So I'm going to sign off here and say thank you for hanging out with me. And remember, again, you matter. So please take care. Goodbye.